We're in the garden now to talk about soil preparation. First, let's go over what you need in order to prepare your soil in terms of tools and materials. First thing we're going to talk about are the tools, and preparing your soil does mean digging, so that's a good way to get your exercise out in the fresh air is to prepare some soil for planting. And you can use a couple of things for digging. We have a long-handled shovel, and that's great for preparing in-ground beds. I have a short pointed shovel, which I'll use in this raised bed. It's a little easier to manage. And you could also use a garden spade for turning the soil. When you're turning the soil, you want to dig down about 12 inches and turn the shovelful or spadeful of soil over so that you can mix in your soil amendments in the next step as well as fertilizers. After you've turned your soil, you will take your bags of compost, either store-bought or homemade compost, and you'll spread that over the area that you've dug to a depth of about 3 inches. And then on top of that, you will put fertilizer in accordance to the package directions. And we have a couple of different ways to fertilize. You can buy fertilizer that has the individual nutrients. We're going to talk more in detail about fertilizer in another lecture. Bone meal, for instance, is a high phosphorus fertilizer. Blood meal is a high nitrogen fertilizer. Or you can choose a balanced fertilizer, which has the 3 main nutrients that all plants need in approximately equal measure. Once your compost has been spread and your fertilizer has been sprinkled over the top of that, the next tool that you're going to use is a cultivator. And a multi-pronged cultivator is a great way to mix in the soil amendment and the fertilizer, and also to get your soil nice and loose, get rid of all of those dirt clods, and then have a very light mixture that your plants will be absolutely happy with. They can spread their roots out, and the soil will have the right amount of air and hopefully be of the right consistency to retain water, but also let it drain so that your plants are not sitting in any soggy earth. So we're going to go ahead and clear this stuff out and get started with digging. Now comes the hard work. We're going to dig about 12 inches deep and turn the soil over so that we can aerate this soil and make it in great shape for the next round of plants that are going to go in here. Don't worry about the big clods. We're going to attack those with the cultivator after we get all of the soil dug. And this is the process that you will use whether you're doing a raised bed garden, as this one is, or you're planting directly in the ground. Every time you plant a new crop, you need to go through a soil preparation process. Over the season, the soil becomes compacted, the organic materials that are in the soil decompose, and so it's necessary to replenish the soil every time you plant a new crop. Okay, that was a good workout. Nothing like a little shoveling, digging to work up a sweat and burn some calories. Our next step is to put the soil amendment or compost across the top of this area that we've just dug. So let's go ahead and get that done. Again, we want to have about 3 inches. And these bags will be labeled sometimes compost mix, sometimes garden soil, sometimes soil amendment. They are often called a few different things, but it doesn't really matter what the title is. It is stuff that is supposed to be worked in the soil. It's an organic product that comes from decomposed clippings of trees, bushes, and so on. And the purpose of that is to refresh the soil with organic matter. spread that out over the bed area. And the next step is to put the fertilizer evenly over that area. And the reason that you want to do it at the time of your soil preparation is that's the time you can get the soil nutrients from the fertilizer down where the root zone is going to be as those plants grow. Whenever you are adding fertilizer to your garden, whether it's at the time of planting or as it is growing, always read the instructions on the bag. Over fertilizing is not good. It can burn your plants, so you really do need to be careful and do a little bit of math. It will usually give you the instructions in terms of how much to use for an appropriate number of square feet. I've already calculated what I need for this area. This is about 3 feet by 5 feet, and of this fertilizer I need 1.5 cups. So I'm going to measure that out. Different fertilizers come in different concentrations, so you have to read the bag of each one before you apply it. So I need another 1/2 cup. And now we're ready to mix that all together with the cultivator. Again, this is a part that's going to burn a few calories. The object of this is twofold. We want to break up these dirt clods into nice crumbly soil, and at the time that we're doing that, we're also mixing in that compost and fertilizer that we spread on top. The result is we're going to get a really nice, crumbly, rich soil that has just had nutrients added in the form of fertilizer, and the last step is going to be raking that all smooth, and then we're going to be ready to plant. So I'm going to finish this up, and I'll meet you back here when we're ready to rake. We've completed cultivating the soil, and the last step that we'll perform is leveling out the soil and getting the bed completely ready to plant. For that, I use a rake and just gently try and smooth that soil out so that you have a nice, even, level platform in which to plant your plants. You want it to be level so that you don't have too much puddling and pooling when you're irrigating later on. That way all of the plants will get their appropriate share of moisture. There we are. As you rake and cultivate, if you see any stones in your bed, go ahead and take those out and throw those away. But the object is to end up with a very smooth, very loose soil mixture that is ready for your plants to just get in there, send the roots out, and grow lots of food.